The changes that took place in Chambord City were absolutely stunning. With the immigration plan and the construction of the new city on the south bank of Zuli River, Chambord City became a military fortress. Since Chambord City was built in ancient times and got passed down, all the buildings in the city were made with giant stones, and they were very firm and sturdy. It wasn't hard to modify and change the city. After almost all the residents in Chambord City moved to Sky City, everything in Chambord City was militarized, and this city became a super fortress that was armed to the teeth. The defense wall that was firm to begin with was partially destroyed by the magic cannons on the Xianxia of Ormond. Afterwards, it was rebuilt with many ancient building techniques recorded in Demon King's Wisdom. Each stone brick was engraved with magic arrays, and the defense wall was more than 30 meters tall and as tough as steel. Under the sunshine, it gave off a metallic luster. The existence of these magic arrays gave the defense wall more functionalities, aside from making it stronger. These changes could rarely be seen during normal days, but they would appear when enemies tried to siege the city. Those poor souls would realize in frustration that all kinds of magic attacks such as fireballs, ice arrows, and stone spikes could shoot out of the defense wall under the power of the Chambordian mages. The battlements and watchtowers on the defense wall were constructed based on the most scientific calculations, and they wouldn't be damaged by any warrior energy or magic energy attacks under 6-star. Therefore, the tragic incident of the defense wall collapsing wouldn't happen again so easily. Between the battlements, the dragon slayers, which were giant crossbows, were placed with perfect strategic arrangement. The arrows were fully loaded, and the metal arrowheads reflected chilly light. Each magic arrow shot by the magic crossbow could kill a low-tier Moon-class elite. These densely placed chained magic tornado penetration crossbows required 1,000 people to operate, and they could shoot out 100,000 arrows continuously in 15 minutes. The arrows could cover a large area, creating an arrow storm. The buildings inside the city were modified to fit the needs for combat first. Most of the residential buildings and public infrastructures were turned into magic blockhouses and anti-air towers. Right now, Chambord City was already a murderous fortress filled with all kinds of mechanical traps and magic arrays. Outsiders who knew little about this city could never make it back out alive. The most eye-catching buildings were the many statues placed in almost every corner of the city. These statues were all based on the king's look and figure. In the city, there would be one of Faye's statues that was about 10 meters tall in every 100 meters. The bases of the statues were engraved with dense and complicated patterns and runes. These were the various shrines that were from Diablo World. For example, there were health shrines, stamina shrines, skill shrines, armor shrines, exploding shrines, and mana recharge shrines. After the mad scientist's laboratory decoded the runes on them, these shrines could be created and used in real life. With the existence of these shrines, once in battle, Chambordian mages could activate these shrines, and all kinds of buffs and auras would envelop the entire city. These shrines that were only useful toward Chambordians could quickly heal up dying warriors and soldiers, increase their strength and stamina, boost their speed, and enhance their defense. These buffs stacked on top of one another would bring the enemies of Chambord nightmares and make them experience mental collapse. While 99% of Chambord City was reconstructed, the structure of the military of Chambord was also modified and updated. Except for close to 80 saints who were all above 5-star, Chambord now had its very own legion. This was no doubt a terrifying troop. Although there were only 30,000 soldiers, they were all insanely strong compared to ordinary soldiers. Under the empowerment of Hulk Potion, even a groom in the Legion was a star-level warrior and had insane physical strength. Also, there were more than 15,000 soldiers who were on and above 3-star. Their loyalty was checked many times, and they would obey 100% of the king's commands after the spirit energy ties started working after they drank Hulk Potion. This was a legion made up of pure star-level warriors and mages. Under the command of strategists such as Old Ariang, they could fight with close to 1 million ordinary soldiers. Except for that, Chambord's navy and air force also grew out of their infancy. After obtaining the techniques behind the creation of Xianxia, Chambord's underground arsenal created Black Pearl and Cyclops, which were 2 giant Xianxia. Besides, they purchased a lot of raw material and created 6 medium Xianxia that could each carry 200 soldiers and 20 small Xianxia that could each transport about 20 soldiers. Now, with Black Pearl and Cyclops included, Chambord had an air force that could move 5,000 soldiers. With each Chambordian soldier being so strong, this air force could rival the Eindhoven Empire's Griffin Legion, which was comprised of 10,000 soldiers, and one Xianji Legion of Ormond, which comprised of 20,000 soldiers. At the same time, Chambordian's desire for a powerful navy was never weakened. Except for King Alexander, Chambord built 6 reverse whale battleships that were on the same scale. These ships could all submerge underwater and carried powerful magic cannons and crossbows. In addition, Chambord's underground arsenal built more than 20 smaller vessels from the blueprints in Demon King's Wisdom. These ships couldn't go underwater, but they were agile and fast, and they could be called giant ship killers. Among the various empires in the northern region that didn't focus on building their navies, this naval force was the most powerful in the area. Without exaggeration, Chambord's real strength had increased more than 100 times in the last year. Of course, this excluded Faye, the insanely powerful master, and the Demon Beast Legion that was hiding in the endless sea of forests behind Chambord. The Demon Beast Legion had grown under Queen Angela's meticulous management and care. More than 50 Supreme King-level demon beasts joined the Legion, and there were other weaker but smart demon beasts in the Legion that lived in big groups. This Legion was one of the trump cards that Chambord had. To summarize the situation, except for Faye, who was a demigod, the most powerful and dangerous figure that Chambord had during wars was Queen Angela, who looked weak and fragile. As long as she was in Chambord and had the endless sea of forests behind her, she could summon a countless number of demon beasts on her own and create an invincible troop. Right now, Chambord could rival any empire in the northern region. It was probably even stronger than the Zenith Empire. If the military were only an external threat and a demonstration of power, Chambord's achievements in other fields could crush the other empires as well. The kingdom had already created an internal system that required little alteration and could bring Chambord a great future. Of course, the internal system referred to Chambord's education system. Based on the king's belief from his previous life, all Chambordians believed that the children had to get the necessary education regardless of how poor their families were. With this foundation, Chambord had established a universal education system where all the children of Chambordians could enter the Cultivation, Magic, and various other academies. In addition, the children who showed more talent would be enrolled in Chambord's civil and military university. As time passed by, everything made sense. Chambord's strength grew, the wealth of the nation increased, various beliefs were turned into policies and implemented, and the fruits of basic education gradually showed. In the beginning, many people didn't understand the king. But as time passed, they all devoted themselves to it. The importance that the officials of Chambord placed on education far surpassed the officials in other empires. They were almost ahead by one full era. In just 2 years, Chambord completed its education system. Everything was stabilized and placed in the system nicely, and the structure was set from primary education to advanced education to professional education. Right now, Chambord had 40 elementary schools, 20 middle schools, high schools, professional colleges, military academies, and 4 universities. With these schools in place, they continuously created all types of talents for the nation. In the recent 1,000 years of human history, no kingdom or empire had as many great talents as Chambord had in these 2 years. Also, there was no place on this continent except for Chambord that valued so many people with poor family backgrounds and offered them opportunities to rise. For many people in the Zenith Empire, if they were willing to work hard, they could come to this magical kingdom and obtain a skill set that could allow them to survive on this continent ruled by the law of the jungle. Learning was no longer the privilege of the nobles. Also, under Faye's insistence, Chambord didn't keep to themselves. Instead, they opened the doors to other forces and accepted international students. In the beginning, only the nobles and wealthy merchants of other affiliated kingdoms of Zenith sent their kids to Chambord to study. They saw this as a way to show the king of Chambord their friendliness and didn't hope to get much from it. However, when they saw that their kids who were average in their eyes become geniuses in different fields, they realized that they had gotten much more than they had ever imagined. Later on, almost all the nobles inside the Zenith Empire tried to send their kids to Chambord for school, and they saw it as a great honor. Gradually, Chambord schools became the prime incubator of talents in the empire. In the end, the nobles and merchants in other empires heard of this and sent their kids to study in Chambord from thousands of kilometers away. Chambord was never kind toward rich people. The tuition for the schools in Chambord were exceptionally high. However, Chambord's attitude toward poor people was completely different. As long as they demonstrated a strong desire to learn, they could study there for free. King Scholarship, Bass Scholarship, Brook Scholarship, Drogba Scholarship, Cultivation Scholarship, Magic Scholarship, Potion Maker Scholarship, Taylor Jenny Scholarship, Military Scholarship, Soros Outstanding Merchant Talent Scholarship. The famous people of Chambord and the merchant groups sponsored all kinds of scholarships. As long as someone was talented, regardless of their family backgrounds, they could get many awards and become rich just like that. Out of all the scholarships, the King Scholarship was the supreme honor that many students desired. This scholarship was personally sponsored by the King of Chambord, Imperial Marshal Saint of Zenith, and Human Emperor of the North. There was only one spot per semester per school. On top of getting a lot of physical resources and wealth, the recipients could meet His Majesty and receive personalized advice. The effect that Chambord's open education system had in the region was immeasurable. This was why Fei was cunning. In many cases, the terrifying power of education wasn't only in the development of talent and the supply of fresh blood into the nation. It was also the subtle art of brainwashing. About 1 year ago, a course named Political Thought was incorporated into the curriculum in every single school in Chambord. This theory course seemed useless, but it promoted some strange points of views and perspectives. It was heard that the king had written all the course material. As a result, the young nobles and talented young people were subtly brainwashed by their idol, the King of Chambord. These people from the various affiliated kingdoms, nearby empires, and merchant groups admired heroes, and they were all young and accepted new points of views and ideas much more easily. The king successfully influenced them while they were still malleable. After they finished their studies at Chambord and went back to their forces, they would subconsciously use what Fei taught them and treat those principles as their own, becoming the natural allies of Chambord. Right now, Chambord City was like a radiation source, emitting energy to the surroundings and silently changing many people in the region. It was creating a unique cultural circle in the northern region of Azeroth. Perhaps some people would be displeased and resist later on, but it would be too late then. All of this was the fruit of Fei's meticulous plan from 2 years ago. About 6 days after the king came back to Chambord, he observed in secret and concluded this. Without a doubt, the king was very excited. It felt like an inexperienced gardener copied someone else's success formula and achieved perfect, unexpected results, creating a garden that was beyond exceptional. Fei had been back at Chambord City for almost a week. He didn't rush to the capital of Angie to ask Akira and Kane about the progress in decoding the mysteries inside that sealed space. He knew that it was going to be a long project. Although the two mad scientists were sharp and intelligent, the sealed space was the masterpiece of at last a godly king-level master from the mythical era, and it was many levels beyond people's current knowledge. Therefore, this project had to be taken slowly. In the last 7 days, Fei had been teaching the university students and soldiers of Chambord in the underground cave which was known as the City of Heroes. Due to the incident with the Angie Empire, the class that Fei taught was quite behind, so he had to make up the difference when he had time. Right now, many military departments and training grounds were still in the maze-like city in the underground cave beside the school. However, the most confidential and secretive departments were already moved to Sky Castle that was much safer, and the City of Heroes gradually dropped in importance and became a lower-level confidential center. Aside from teaching, Fei spent a lot of time on studying Demon King's wisdom and Demon King's sword. Of course, the king never stopped going into Diablo World to kill monsters and level up and training his spirit energy. One day, Fei finally achieved something, and he laughed hysterically. Then, he ordered a guard to summon the busy military leader Brook. This is inside the Godly King Palace in Sky City. Brook was slightly surprised when he saw the pigeon egg-sized, crystallized mystical potion extract. Faint red energy flames burned around it, and Brooke could sense the vast amount of energy contained in it. This man seemed to have realized something. Ha ha ha! It is a good item, especially prepared for you. Faye switched to his paladin character and opened the Great Prophecy Realm, engulfing Brooke inside. Then he said, "Swallow this. You will understand its effect soon." Brooke had 100% trust in the king, so he took the crystallized potion extract, raised his head, and swallowed this not-so-tasty crystal. The pigeon egg-sized red crystal instantly melted once it entered Brooke's mouth, and it was even more magical than he had imagined. A streak of warm current rushed into his body through his throat, and it grew into a rapid river, flowing into his internal organs, limbs, and every single cell. Gradually, that warm current became heated. Then, streaks of bright red light started to show through Brooke's muscles and skin. Quickly, a painful expression appeared on Brooke's face, and that warmth became a burning sensation, scorching every inch of his skin as if he were on fire. Relax and circulate your warrior energy according to your current warrior energy channels. Don't resist. Faye also became serious. It might be a bit painful, but you have to persist. It was much more than painful. Although Brooke hadn't been on the front line and wasn't injured for a while, he was a tough man who had strong willpower. Also, he had taken Hulk Potion since long ago, and his mind was as tough as steel while his body was sturdy. Despite all that, his face was almost distorted under severe pain. Giant, bean-sized sweat drops rolled down his skin that was exposed in the air, and he clenched his teeth forcefully while a series of deep roars sounded from his throat as if he were an injured beast. Faye instantly strengthened his paladin character's realm. The power of the Great Prophecy Realm started to come into effect, and the thick, liquid-like golden holy power rushed into Brooke's body continuously, helping him suppress that streak of energy inside his body and barely keeping his body together. With the help of Faye's realm, the terrifying energy contained in the crystallized potion extract didn't explode Brooke's body, and the latter experienced less pain. The holy power of the paladin excelled in healing, and Faye's paladin character was now already a demigod. Even though this was the case, he still couldn't fully suppress the energy of the potion extract in Brooke's body. It went to show how terrifying this red crystallized potion extract was. The energy inside this crystallized potion extract was worthy of Faye's investment. To create this item, Faye spent a lot of time and energy on studying Demon King's sword and Demon King's wisdom, and he almost used all the godly herbs that he collected from the core region of the mythical palace in the last trip. With all that investment, Faye created this crystallized potion extract with some luck. Ah! Brooke finally couldn't hold still and roared in pain. As soon as he opened his mouth, a streak of burning red energy rushed out and made crackling noises, making it look like Brooke was spitting out a fire. In the end, his entire body was engulfed in the red, eye-piercing light. Vaguely, Faye saw that Brooke's skin cracked up like a dried riverbed and was filled with thin red lines that looked like spider webs. It seemed like this man was going to shatter at any moment. Faye didn't dare to underestimate the power of the crystallized potion extract and fully unleashed the realm of the paladin, suppressing the energy in Brooke's body and balancing the conflict between Brooke's warrior energy and this streak of energy. This process lasted an entire afternoon. 5 hours later, the red light enveloping Brooke finally died down, and the heat energy in the area was sucked back into his body through his mouth like a giant whale inhaling water in the ocean. After a quick glimpse, it seemed like he just crawled out of a pool of mud and a mountain of charcoal dust. A thick black shell formed around him, making him look like a black porcelain doll. Crack! As a crisp cracking noise sounded, a thin crack suddenly appeared on the black shell outside Brooke's body. Like the first piece in a series of dominoes, a series of cracking noises sounded after the first noise, and the black shell shattered and fell like a broken eggshell, revealing Brooke underneath. In the end, all the black shell fell off and piled up around Brooke, and a powerful life energy gradually radiated from Brooke's body. Ha ha ha! It is a success. Faye's slightly nervous face finally showed a relieving smile. At this moment, Brooke was clear about what took place as he had sensed the unbelievable changes that occurred in his body. He got excited, and he instantly kneeled on the ground after a moment of freezing. "Thank you for your gift, Your Majesty." After digesting the crystallized potion extract, Brook detected that the life energy in his body increased more than 10 times, and his stamina was on another level. The warrior energy that was circulating in his body turned to the liquid form from gas form, moving around like a rapid river. Also, he felt like his body was filled with power, and he could shatter the ground with a stomp and tear the sky by reaching out his hands. His strength skyrocketed from 6-star to low-tier half-moon. It was unimaginable. Faye laughed out loud. "Please get up. In the last 2 years, you have served this kingdom diligently. You spent a lot of time and energy on the management of the military, and you had to neglect your cultivation strength. Your strength and talent were both above Pierce and Drogba, but they had become masters of 2 golden Saint Mountains out of 12 behind Chambord City. The growth of your strength had stagnated. Even though you aren't resentful and never complained, I can't let my most trusted assistant be wronged. I spent more than a month to create this potion extract with many rare materials, and it is specially made for you. I did many experiments before I gave it to you. Despite its aggressive effect, it wouldn't deplete all your potential. Now that your strength has skyrocketed, you still can walk further on the path of cultivation. This is the payment that Chambord owes you for your 2 years of diligent and selfless sacrifice for the kingdom." While Faye said that, he helped Brook to stand up and lightly patted the latter's shoulder. "Thank you for your service," the king added. Brook was very touched. This tough man, who never changed his expression when he faced sharp blades, got emotional, and tears filled his eyes. Brook knew that the many experiments that the king mentioned meant that Faye used this potion extract on himself. In fact, before the king gave any potions or cultivation techniques to his subordinates, he always tested them on himself many times and made sure that they were safe. This was almost a public secret in the upper circle of Chambord, and it was one of the reasons why many people were willing to die for the king. Many things that seemed insignificant and trivial thoroughly demonstrated this young king's charisma. Outside Chambord, many people believed that the source of the king of Chambord's unparalleled reputation and control inside his kingdom came from his insanely powerful strength. They were all wrong. Faye's indescribable charisma was the reason why so many geniuses and masters were willing to follow the king and serve him until death. "Since your strength has reached the requirement that I set before, I can coronate you and make you a gold saint." Faye looked at Brook and said to him with a smile. Then, the king activated one of the 3 miraculous skills, Give. Faye's voice suddenly became sacred and majestic, sounding like a giant bell that echoed on its own. "As the king of Chambord, I now coronate you and make you the gold saint of Libra, and you will represent justice and fairness, becoming the figure that other gold saints should look up to. Like a scale, you will weigh the actions of all officials of Chambord and determine their promotions and demotions." Now, Brook finally understood the king's good intentions. The 12 spots for the gold saints were already announced long ago, and many warriors of Chambord worked toward them and wanted to become one. Seeing his peers all becoming gold saints, Brook was a little envious even though he didn't show it. However, for a long time, he had to spend most of his energy on managing the kingdom and taking care of things for Chambord. Unlike people such as Pierce and Drogba who could focus all their time on cultivation, Brook's available time for cultivation was greatly suppressed. As a result, he wasn't able to reach moon class after several years. To Brook's surprise, the king saw all this and granted his wish today. In the next moment, a golden chest that was engraved with the constellation symbol of Libra descended from the sky and landed before Brook. At this moment, Brook felt a blood connection to the chest. Next, the sky outside the palace suddenly dimmed and became dark. Then, many stars brightened up in the nightly sky, forming a large image of constellation Libra. Every single star in the constellation shot down a streak of starlight, and they all merged into Brook's body. The spot for the gold saint of Libra was finally claimed, and one of the empty gold Saint Mountains got an owner. As if it were corresponding to this, the gold Saint Mountain of Libra behind Chambord suddenly shot out tens of thousands of streaks of light, looking like it was welcoming its master. After the quick phenomenon, the sky returned to normal. The sun reappeared in the sky, and everything was bright again. After Brooke left, Faye finally heaved a sigh of relief. Helping Brooke achieve Moon Class also accomplished one of Faye's goals. Out of the 12 gold saints, 10 of them were already in place. There were Taurus Drogba, Leo Lampard, Aries Dessler, Gemini Inzaghi, Sagittarius Torres, Scorpio Check, Libra Brooke, Aquarius Robin, and Pisces Akinfeev. Among them, Lampard, who seemed to have a bug of his own, had already reached low-tier Sun class, and the others were all at peak half-moon. These 10 people represented the top-level combat force of Chambord, excluding Faye, Elena, Hazel Bank, and the people of Blackcloth Shrine. Now, only Cancer Constellation and Virgo Constellation weren't assigned, but Faye had already found suitable candidates. Once these two people reached Moon Class, they would be coronated. By then, all 12 gold saints would be complete, and it would satisfy Faye's biggest hidden joke since he came to this world. After helping Brooke, Faye only had to worry about Head Minister Bast. Unfortunately, Faye's father-in-law wasn't passionate about cultivation and the spots of gold saints. Also, Faye didn't want his father-in-law to become someone who would fight on the front line, so he didn't use the same trick. According to plan, Faye would now try to figure out ways to help his father-in-law to prolong his lifespan and maintain his good health. This classic old noble was most interested in these two things. In the next 10 days or so, Faye stayed in Chambord City. During this time, since the latest military operation, the expedition to the Angie Empire, had succeeded, the royal family of Zenith sent dozens of envoys to Chambord and rewarded Faye with a lot of money and many titles, showing the royal family's great trust in this imperial martial saint. Now, Faye's status and fame inside the Zenith Empire were above everyone else except Emperor Yasin. However, Faye didn't care about these intangible titles. Despite all this, the largest trees in the forest will still be blown harder on by the wind. This idiom held true in every world. It was heard that quite a few people attacked Faye's character in St. Petersburg. They stated that the Chambord kingdom's strength was growing too fast and far surpassed the limit that Zenith imposed on affiliated kingdoms. Others said that Faye's self-proclaimed title of Human Emperor of the North showed his wild ambition and desire for treason. These people asked the royal family to restrict Chambord's power and be on guard. For a moment, the request for Faye to drop the title as the King of Chambord and solely function as the Imperial Martial Saint appeared again, and many nobles now supported it. Faye only laughed when he heard these attacks. Why would dragons listen to and mind the insults of ants? Of course, if some people were determined to realize this request and started to cause real trouble and step over the line, Faye didn't mind running another bloody cleaning operation. Right now, Faye was already a demigod through 2 of his 7 characters, and no one in Zenith could suppress him. Although he had no intention of rebelling, he wouldn't allow clowns to insult him with accusations that were over the line. At the same time, information came from the direction of the capital of Angie. Kane and Akira didn't encounter any danger in the sealed space, but their research progress wasn't that fast. The godly blood chains weren't an issue anymore, and the two had some preliminary thoughts about how to strengthen the seals. In addition, they decoded most of the laws of time inside the giant stone eggs. However, they couldn't reverse the laws of time and create a small world with an inverse ratio where time passed slower in the small world compared to the real world. Faye didn't urge these 2 mad scientists. He was sure that the crazy obsession these 2 old monsters had toward difficult problems was enough to make them neither sleep nor eat. The good thing was that these 2 old monsters from Diablo World seemed to have unlimited stamina and didn't know anything about fatigue. If not, Faye would have captured them every day and forced them to rest. This time, Kane and Akira seemed to be more understanding. Perhaps they guessed that Faye was feeling anxious inside. They sent about a dozen of their most trusted apprentices to start the preliminary process of the mystical gold armor creation project in Chambord's arsenal. Although these apprentices couldn't complete this insane project, they could engrave the runes on the inside of the armor, saving a lot of time and shortening the manufacturing process. Like a precise, well-oiled machine, Chambord was working day and night. Faye was doing the same. The chaos that was happening on the continent made the king feel an even stronger sense of danger. In the next while, Faye focused most of his time on increasing the strength of both Chambord and himself. Of course, Faye also agreed to all the requests of the royal family of Zenith that weren't too much. and he sent out mages and blacksmiths of Chambord to help the royal family create magic weapons and war machines. Dwarf clan's last ancestral place under the Sky City was also used. Faye had turned it into an enormous practice battlefield. The king had organized the last ancestral place and moved all the corpses and broken weapons. Then all the godly runes on the walls and ceiling were restored, and this giant space was divided into 10 independent fields. Each field contained demons and monsters that Faye summoned from Diablo World using experiment points, and they ranged from star level to moon class, offering varieties and different difficulties to the challengers. Every day, many soldiers of Chambord were teleported to this place. Under the watch of masters who could guarantee their safety, the soldiers battled with the demons and monsters, obtaining experience in fighting with non-human opponents. Faye had a feeling that, in this chaotic world, this type of combat experience was going to help Chambord one day. Except for that, Faye still spent a lot of time in the space inside the central godly mountain below the godly king palace, and he used the mythical altar to purify all the energy of the remaining world stones that he had. After several of his characters passed Hell Mode Diablo World, Faye had gotten several Normal Mode, Nightmare Mode, and Hell Mode world stones. Through purifying these energy sources that were stained by hell power, Sky City obtained a ton of energy. 6 golden lotus plants were fully blooming in the square pond inside the godly king palace. The terrifying functions of this ancient fortress were gradually recovering. During the process of purifying the world stones, the mysterious stone pillar in Faye's body, which was the scepter of creation, also absorbed a ton of pure energy from the world stones. However, summoning it still consumed a lot of energy. With Faye's spirit energy level, he could barely summon it once a day. This mysterious stone pillar was named the Scepter of Creation, which was a stunning title. It must have a shocking background, and Faye couldn't wait for the day when he could fully control this mystical treasure. Time slowly passed in the busyness, but it was fast for the people involved. Finally, 1 month later, Faye pushed his sorceress character to Hell Mode level 100, and he shifted his focus onto his Amazon character. This was the last class in Diablo World that hadn't reached Hell Mode level 100 yet. Now, Faye was getting closer and closer to the point where all 7 of his characters passed Diablo World, and he hoped that there would be a grand surprise reward. Also, Faye's spirit energy had reached level 2,500, and he was now able to stay in Diablo World for 20 hours a day. As a result, his speed of leveling up got even faster. Before too long, Faye was sure that he could increase his spirit energy even further and achieve the maximum allowance of 24 hours a day. If that happened, people from rogue encampment such as Elena, Akira, and Kane could stay in the real world for 24 hours a day as well. They could make this place their second home. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a new year arrived. On the first day of the new year, a beam of blue light shot down from the sky after Faye exited Diablo World. He hadn't even gotten the chance to spend some loving time with his wives. It was a hummingbird that was here to deliver important information. In the capital of Angie, the 2 mad scientists finally decoded the laws of time inside the mysterious giant stone eggs after working overtime for a long while. More importantly, they finally found a way to strengthen the godly blood chains and empower the seals on the demons. Faye was thrilled. These giant sealed stone eggs that were about to break were like huge stones that were weighing on Faye's mind. Without question, if more demons of hell escaped from the seals, the various empires in the northern region were going to be affected first. The Zenith Empire and the Chambord Kingdom weren't too far from the Angie Empire, so they would definitely be affected once that happened. Therefore, Faye had to think of a way to strengthen the seals. Even if he couldn't exterminate all those demons of hell, he could delay when they could break out of the stone eggs, buying precious time for Chambord to get stronger and more powerful. After reading this message, Faye was going to rush to the Angie Empire right away. At this moment, a series of red light dashed down from the sky. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 hummingbirds dragged long, red light tails and flew toward Faye like meteors. Faye's expression changed drastically. Red hummingbirds represented the most urgent matters. Usually, it was rare to see the letter office use red hummingbirds to deliver information. However, more than 10 red hummingbirds were used today. It meant that super important events that concerned the Chambord Kingdom, or the entire continent, had taken place. From the number of red hummingbirds, there were more than one of such incidents. Flutter, flutter. The hummingbirds all landed on Faye's shoulders and arms while they chirped and intimately rubbed their heads on Faye. Faye quickly took off the storage rings from their necks and grabbed the letters in them. After opening and reading them, his expression changed color as a light flashed in his eyes. He stood there quietly and was greatly shocked. When it was the 1000th year in the human era on the Azeroth continent, a phenomenon occurred, and the War of Frankfurt happened in the southern region of Azeroth. Later in history, the historians called the War of Frankfurt the beginning of chaos. Although the scale of this war wasn't that big, it was significant enough to be clearly recorded in the history of the continent. This was the first war that humans, who had the dominating position on the continent for 1,000 years, fought with another race. When it was the beginning of the new year, the Level 3 Frankfurt Empire in the southern region of Azeroth was hosting a nationwide celebration. Suddenly, it was raided by a powerful force, and this empire was wiped out in one night. Tens of millions of people were killed or enslaved, and the royal family of Frankfurt didn't survive. Hundreds of royal masters fell, and even the guardian of Frankfurt, Sun-class Lord Cha Bumkuin, was killed. Afterward, the adjacent empires did their investigation, and all evidence pointed to the Goblin clan, which had disappeared for more than 1,000 years. The Goblin clan was the mysterious force that wiped out the Frankfurt Empire. All the humans had a hard time understanding why this race, that was proven to be extinct and left no trace in more than 1,000 years, suddenly appeared on the Azeroth continent without warning and had the strength to wipe out a Level 3 empire instantly. Also, after sifting through all the debris, it seemed like the Goblin clan had a great understanding of human society and power dynamics. This was a premeditated and well-executed raid. They instantly wiped out a Level 3 empire, and all the movements were planned and coordinated perfectly, not giving the people of Frankfurt the chance to react nor the empires around Frankfurt the chance to help. Where did the goblins come from? How many goblins were there? After thousands of years, did this race that had disappeared for a long time still have the power it used to and could dominate over a region? What kind of attitude did they have toward humans? Enemies? Or was there room for negotiation? Why did they pick the Frankfurt Empire as their target? Did goblins want to dominate the entire continent? All these questions and mysteries splashed into human society like a handful of salt getting dropped into a pot of boiling oil. Instantly, the Azeroth continent that was full of wars fell into a state of uncontrollable chaos. What kind of a race were the goblins? In the last 1,000 years, humans on the continent held different beliefs. Some people were stubborn and stuck with the name, saying that goblins were dirty, stupid, weak, yet evil. They believed that these tiny and fragile creatures who had green skin were selfish, cunning, and cruel. They thought that these creatures lived in caves or underground as big groups, and that they didn't wear clothes, ate raw flesh, and drank blood like savages. However, others went another route. By reading ancient documents and poetry, they had different perceptions of what goblins were like. These people believed that goblins were smart, and they were born inventors, alchemists, or merchants. Although they weren't strong individually, they had an unparalleled magic civilization. The legendary goblin magic cannons and goblin zeppelins were their signature creations. The people who held these two different beliefs argued for centuries, but the appearance of this clan put a perfect ending to this discussion. It turned out that the second group of people were correct. The goblins demonstrated immense strength in the War of Frankfurt. They had an unparalleled magic civilization, and there were terrifying scenes where tens of thousands of magic cannons shot out energy beams and many zeppelins blocked out the sun and sky. Besides, goblin wolf riders formed legions, and they were natural kings when fighting in forests and on mountains. These small creatures perfectly combined with wolves, and they dominated on the battlefield. By using these terrifying war weapons, the goblins who suddenly appeared on the Azeroth continent showcased terrifying power, and they instantly destroyed a human empire. In the beginning, many human masters and mercenary groups still dreamed about getting rich off these goblins. They ventured into the territory of the former Frankfurt Empire, waiting to capture some goblins and seize a few zeppelins and magic cannons. In the Chaos era, the war weapons that could allow ordinary soldiers to kill star-level warriors and mages were alluring. A magic cannon or a delicately made zeppelin created by the goblins could be sold for a lot of money. Humans treated this race that suddenly appeared as a soft wallet, and everyone wanted to squeeze out sweet juice from them. However, the cruel reality hammered the excited humans in the head. More than a dozen Sun-class lords were killed inside the territories claimed by the goblins, for out of the top 20 mercenary groups in the southern region were wiped out, and the Hertha Empire and the Barisha Empire that were beside the Frankfurt Empire were conquered. Then, humans dropped their arrogance that they had developed after dominating the continent for 1,000 years, and they started to view this race in a serious light. From the most recent information, it showed that, with the most conservative estimate, there were at least 1 million goblins. This was an incredible number. From 0 to 1 million. This shocked many people. If there were at least 1 million goblins, they couldn't have hidden anywhere on the continent without being discovered by humans in more than 1,000 years. In other words, many people believed that there might be other worlds and realms outside the Azeroth continent. Otherwise, how could all these goblins live on Azeroth continent without being noticed for so long? Also, additional information from the frontline showed that 1 million goblins were only the soldiers in the Herald Legions. The number of goblins that humans knew of skyrocketed by the day. In less than a month, the cannons and guns of the goblins and the goblin wolf riders conquered 5 human empires, and they killed and enslaved many humans like bloody locusts, destroying human civilizations. Without a doubt, the cruelty of goblins raised humans' guard and hatred toward them. The human empires that were in wars in the southern region quickly stopped, and the level 9 Bayern Empire promptly reached an agreement with rising empires such as Ormond and Leverkusen. Then, they started to plan their revenge on goblins. At the same time, some human forces in the eastern region and western region also joined the anti-goblin alliance. Although the southern regional church of the Holy Church didn't declare war against goblins, they sent many priests and holy knights to join the alliance. Also, the 3 Holy Knight legions of the Southern Regional Church, Spear of Judgment, Honor, and Redemption, were making many moves, and it seemed like they were getting ready for war. The craziness and aggressiveness of goblins enraged the prideful humans. A great war was imminent. The appearance of other races made the situation on the Azeroth continent even more turbid and chaotic. Faye was planning to go to the southern region and check out this legendary race that had disappeared for thousands of years. However, after considering that the southern region was quite far away, and he still had many things to take care of, Faye had to suppress his desire that was similar to a bumpkin who wanted to see pandas in the zoo. Then, he rushed to the capital of Angie right away and entered the mysterious sealed space, getting ready to strengthen the seals on the giant stone eggs. Huh? So simple? After hearing the method of strengthening the seals from Cain, the king was greatly surprised and didn't know what to say. Yeah, this simple? Cain said impatiently. The godly blood can automatically seal demons. Therefore, with enough supply of power, the seals on these stone eggs will increase in strength. Nothing else needs to be changed. Of course, the only requirement is that the energy injected must be accepted by the godly blood. In a sense, only bright energy with godly power can strengthen the seals. The godly blood will reject all other forms of energy. Since it is so simple, how come you guys spent so much time on it? Faye asked casually. However, Cain jumped up like a cat that got its tail stepped on, and he roared in anger. What do you know? You are only a half-assed professional. This is godly blood. Do you think it is easy to research the power of the gods as mortals? Don't you know that this simple answer is supported by complicated theories and had to be tested many times? After saying that, Cain left in anger and continued to research the laws of time inside the broken giant stone eggs. Faye got cussed at for no reason and he was confused. At this moment, Drogba got close to him and whispered. Professor Cain seemed to have been arguing with Professor Akira about the theories regarding the alteration of the laws of time inside the giant sealed eggs. After all, they had completely opposing views. However, in the end, it seemed like Professor Cain was wrong after they ran some experiments. Therefore, his mood isn't too well these days. The king instantly laughed out loud. Now that he understood the situation, he could imagine the scene where Akira mercilessly mocked and verbally abused the poor Cain. Ha ha! No wonder. After being mocked by Akira, Kane's menopause probably even came earlier. No wonder it seems like Kane ate TNT. After putting this small incident aside, Faye started to strengthen the power of the seals on these giant eggs. First, Faye was going to deal with the 5 giant sealed eggs that were going to break soon. Radiant energy with godly power was required to strengthen the seals, and this wasn't difficult for Faye. His paladin character already reached the demigod realm, and the holy power was the brightest energy in the world. Therefore, all the criteria were met. Fist of the Heavens. While using the skills of the paladin, Faye opened his great prophecy realm. Streaks of golden light beams dashed down from the sky and struck this giant sealed egg, which had a diameter of about 30 kilometers. Golden ripples started to appear on the surface of the giant egg, and the golden runes engraved on the godly blood chains began to blink and flash, absorbing all the energy from Fist of the Heavens. As if a wasp nest got stirred, the godly blood chains that were neatly organized suddenly started to move around as if they were crazy snakes. While golden and blood-red lights flashed, godly blood chains wrapped around the sealed egg tightly, looking as if giant pythons were tightening their grip on their enemies. Ah, damn it! Who is it on the outside? How dare you ruin my business? I'm the great Joey Barton. Suddenly, a surge of tsunami-like spirit energy rushed out of the giant sealed egg, and it sounded like an ancient, vicious beast was roaring. Torres and Drogba, who were standing further away, were unprepared for this, and they were blown away for about 100 meters. This simple roar showed how powerful this demon was. After all, these 2 men were all moon-class elites. Stop! Stop immediately. Otherwise, I will curse you with the power of hell. Ah! No! Faye was unaffected under the threat of this mighty spirit energy surge, and he continued to apply his holy power without stopping. Golden light beams fell from the sky, looking like many lightning bolts, and they all struck onto the giant sealed egg as the power contained in Fist of the Heavens was too high. The dim godly blood chains around this giant sealed egg became crystal-like and shiny at visible speed, and a significant amount of vitality could be sensed from it. As these chains continued to tighten around this giant seal egg, this egg that had a diameter of 30 kilometers shrunk in size by 1/3. Soon, the crazy roars empowered by spirit energy couldn't penetrate the giant sealed egg, so Faye and others could barely hear it. The first giant sealed egg was taken care of. The seal on it was strengthened. As if they sensed the fate of their peer, the other giant sealed eggs started to shake inside the sealed space. Faye's face changed color, and he didn't dare to waste time. After chugging down a few bottles of full rejuvenation potion and recovered his paladin character's stamina and mana, he looked for the next target to seal. This process repeated several times. When Faye got to the 5th giant sealed egg that was about to break, 1 full day had passed. Even though Faye was a demigod, he sensed strong fatigue that was coming from the depths of his soul. The skills from Diablo World didn't have cooldowns. Faye could use them as many times as he wanted if he had enough mana. That was the only reason why Faye could strengthen the seals on 4 giant sealed eggs in 1 day without stopping. If there were a powerful priest of the Holy Church here whose power was stronger than Faye's, this person wouldn't be able to strengthen the seals on so many giant sealed eggs in 1 day. Standing further away, Torres and Drogba stared at the king as if they were looking at a monster. Right now, they were all powerful masters who could dominate over regions. However, as they grew more powerful and obtained a deeper understanding of the path of cultivation, the king became more and more terrifying in their eyes. Faye wasn't sure if it were his illusions when he got to the 5th giant sealed egg that was about to break. This giant thing in front of him slightly shivered in fear, anger, and hatred. In the next moment, just when he was about to open his realm and used Fist of the Heavens, a series of dominant streaks of violent spirit energy rushed out of the 5th giant sealed egg. As if the water on the other side of a dam broke loose, the fierce spirit energy dashed in all directions. At this moment, a series of cracking noises could be heard. Crack, 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 crack. The faint, cracking noises sounded terrifying in this silent sealed space. As if hammers were striking their hearts, Faye and others became extremely nervous. Right now, The cracks on the stone-like surface of the fifth giant sealed egg quickly grew in size, and the godly blood chains were breaking down one after another. The golden godly runes on these chains dimmed at visible speed, and they quickly disappeared. Hiss! 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 Streaks of ink-like black mist jetted out of the giant sealed egg through the cracks. No! The seal is about to break. Faye's heart sunk into his stomach, and he turned around and said to Torres and Drogba, "Leave here and protect Professor Kane and Akira. Don't let the black mist touch them." As soon as he said that, the king opened his great prophecy realm and used Fist of the Heavens. Many golden lightning bolts dashed down from the sky, striking onto the giant sealed egg and creating a sea of lightning energy. At the same time, Faye used the power of laws in his realm. God said that everything broken will recover, all evil will dissipate, and all darkness will be washed away by light. Under the illumination of the golden light of the realm, the cracks on the giant sealed egg quickly started to disappear. Also, the golden light of the realm destroyed all the black mist that was jetting out of the egg through the cracks. The power of the realm was completely showcased. Inside the great prophecy realm, Faye's words were the laws of nature. Like the most accurate prophecy, whatever he said, it would be realized in the next second. However, with his demigodly strength, his realm could only cover an area of 2,000 meters around him, engulfing a small portion of this giant sealed egg that had a diameter of 40 kilometers. He couldn't completely stop this egg from breaking. In the places where the golden light of the realm couldn't reach, the cracks got bigger and bigger, and black mist came out of the egg. This black mist was highly corrosive. After enveloping the godly blood chains, a series of terrifying and disgusting hissing noises sounded, and those chains broke at a faster speed. No! The seal is going to be completely broken. Faye got anxious, and he opened his golden realm as wide as he could. The vast demgodly power radiated outward like a flood, but this giant sealed egg was too big. It was impossible to engulf it completely. The demon of hell inside the sealed egg clearly sensed the danger that was approaching, so it used a technique which consumed its core energy, wanting to get out of this giant sealed egg before Faye could strengthen the seal. Now, it seemed like this demon was near being successful. The cracks on the giant sealed egg grew larger, and the black mist already covered more than half of the egg. Many godly blood chains were breaking at the same time under the powerful corrosion. No! It is too late. Faye was decisive, and he instantly stopped trying to strengthen the seal. Then he pulled away, chugged down a bottle of full rejuvenation potion, and adjusted his state to his prime. Next, he summoned the Immortal King item set. With Immortal King's stone crusher in hand, Faye waited while concentrating his energy. Since he couldn't stop this demon from coming out, he was going to resolve it through combat. In the blink of an eye, a series of stone-breaking noises sounded, and the endless black mist quickly dispersed into the air, as if someone threw ink droplets into a bowl of clean water. The thick, evil sensation was suffocating. The crack on the giant sealed egg grew even bigger. It was already 5,000 meters long and more than 1,000 meters wide. More and more black mist rushed out of the egg through the crack like lava shooting out of an erupting volcano. "Human, you will pay for your actions." An angry roar sounded from the crack, and two red light beams pierced the screen like black mist, looking like two sharp swords. Then, through the thick black mist, Faye vaguely saw a giant figure that was more than 1,000 meters tall crawling out of the crack. Those two red light beams were shot out of its eyes. According to the historical records, the 72 demons of hell were the most vicious and cruel masters in the mythical era, and they easily held grudges and wouldn't stop unless they took revenge. Also, they frequently devoured people's souls as treats. Among the 72 demons, the most powerful few had reached the true God realm. I wonder which demon this one is. However, judging from the size of this giant sealed egg, this demon of hell should be closer to the bottom of the 72 demons in terms of strength. After being sealed for thousands of years, how much of its strength is left? Right now, Faye suddenly wasn't as nervous as before, and he continuously thought back to the legends about the demons of hell, trying to find their weaknesses to obtain the upper hand in the upcoming battle. This demon that was more than 1,000 meters tall finally got out of the giant sealed egg. Although the space was already filled with black evil mist, Fei's eyes were still as sharp as lightning. After he concentrated his energy into his eyes, he could see the surroundings clearly. This giant demon had the body of a leopard but the head of a bull. 2 huge horns could be seen on its forehead. While it breathed through its bloody mouth, clouds of highly corrosive black mist gushed out. Hiss! 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 It seemed like this sealed space was even being corroded by this black mist, and it was going to shatter at any time. This demon's eyes were completely red, and they didn't have irises or pupils. Therefore, its eyes looked like the openings on 2 volcanoes that were about to erupt. It was evident that terrifying power was hidden in this demon. Perhaps it was due to the long time that it was sealed inside the giant egg. This demon looked thin and malnourished. Its body was covered by long black hair, and some green moss could be seen on its fur as well. Some parts of its skin already turned to stone, and stone pieces fell off every time it moved. Ha ha ha! It has been 1,000 years. 1,000 years. I finally regained my freedom. I smell freedom. I also smell the blood of humans. It sure brings back memories. Ha ha ha. Damn humans. You poor souls. Start praying. This demon spoke. It was speaking the language that was used across the continent during the mythical era. However, this demon wasn't too fluent. It seemed like it wasn't used to speaking after not saying anything for 1,000 years. Fei held on to his breath and concentrated, instantly entering the battle mode. With all irrelevant thoughts behind him, he got battle-hungry. To his surprise, this demon didn't attack right away as he expected. Like a giant spider crawling on the surface of the giant sealed egg, it moved at variable speeds with its red tongue flickering. The black mist got thicker and thicker around it, looking to engulf it completely. Fei slightly frowned. Something seemed strange. In the next moment, the king dashed forward like a bolt of lightning and initiated the battle. Fei swung, Immortal King's stone crusher, in the air, and he cast the barbarian's most powerful skill, Whirlwind. Since the Immortal King item set was completed, all the bonus power and effects were demonstrated at this moment. Streaks of lightning bolts that looked like the ones created by Fist of the Heavens dashed down from the sky, and 4 tornadoes appeared and circled the demon, attacking it together. The highly corrosive black mist rushed towards Fei, but the barbarian's anti-mage realm blocked it. Couldn't get within 1,000 meters of the king. In an instant, Fei engulfed the demon of hell with his realm. Endless lightning bolts struck down from the sky, hitting the body of the demon. The tornadoes that were spinning and circling this demon also dashed forward and tore through this demon's body. Boom! 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 The golden energy dragon created by Whirlwind struck the demon accurately. While shocking explosions sounded, this giant demon, who was more than 1,000 meters tall and had an imposing presence, didn't even try to struggle or resist. Like a porcelain doll that was struck by a hammer, this demon shattered into pieces, and these pieces flew in all directions. Quickly, they all disappeared under the power of the anti-mage realm, not even leaving a single streak of smoke. This easy? It is dead. The king, who was prepared for a hard-fought battle, didn't expect such an ending. This demon of hell looked dominating and powerful, but its real strength was weaker than a peak-burning sun lord, not on the same level as Fei. Could it be that this demon already has Alzheimer's after staying in the sealed egg for 1,000 years? It is only coming out to seek death, Fei thought to himself. While looking around in confusion, Fei was highly aware of his surroundings, just in case something unexpected happened. However, it was very quiet in the sealed space from the beginning to the end. No noise or energy fluctuation appeared. What is going on? Fei frowned, and he couldn't figure it out after thinking for a while. Just as he was about to enter this giant sealed egg that was broken, a streak of spatial fluctuation that was hard to detect appeared about 10 kilometers away. A streak of shiny black energy was breaking the barrier around this sealed space, trying to flee. Where are you going? Fei roared and chased after this energy. At this moment, the king instantly understood everything. This damn demon of hell created a powerful clone to attract the king's attention, and its real self instantly escaped from the sealed egg and hid, trying to break the sealed space and get away. It was clear that after being locked inside the sealed egg for 1,000 years, this demon was already weak. Then, it used a ton of energy to break the seal on the egg, and its strength fell even further. It was no match for Faye, who was a demigod. Therefore, this cunning demon had no intention of fighting Faye. It didn't dare to. It only wanted to get out of here as soon as it could to recover its strength. When Faye realized all this, it was already too late. The barrier around this sealed space rippled like the surface of a pond, and that streak of black light disappeared. The golden sword energy that Faye shot out seemed to have hit this demon since a vague scream sounded. But the king wasn't sure if he killed this demon or not. Faye wanted to continue the chase, but he had already lost track of the demon. The void was full of chaotic energy. Without the accurate location of the demon, it would be useless trying to find it by chance. It was no different from looking for a needle in a haystack. Whatever. Since 5 demons already escaped, one more won't hurt much. Besides, it is very weak and it got struck by me. It might need 30 to 50 years to recover its full strength, so it isn't worrisome right now. However, am I already a man who makes demons flee at the sound of my name? Ha! The king comforted himself. This battle gave Faye a warning. The so-called supreme masters from the mythical era weren't truly invincible. These entities were all living beings. They would get drunk if they drank too much, and they would feel the pain if they were stabbed. Therefore, Faye didn't need to be too nervous when facing them, or they might try to take advantage of that. In this battle, if Faye weren't too cautious when facing this demon of hell and used his full strength right away, the demon might not be able to get away. Now, the other giant sealed eggs in this sealed space wouldn't be breaking anytime soon. Faye exhaled and relaxed a little. This counted as the completion of one of his tasks. Next, perhaps the king should go to the southern region of Azeroth to check out the crazy goblins to satisfy his curiosity. Faye's spirit energy radiated out like waves. After sensing for a while, Faye was sure that the demon of hell had already escaped, and he relaxed a bit more. Although this demon of hell escaped, the situation was better than Faye expected. At least people like Akira and Kane weren't affected, and they weren't injured. This sealed space was still in complete control of Chambord. After thinking for a bit, Faye entered the giant sealed egg that was broken in front of him. The world inside the giant sealed egg was utterly different from the sealed space. Lightning bolts continuously flashed, and thunder repeatedly rumbled. Strong gales blew in all directions, and heavy rain poured down from the sky. While Faye was standing in midair, lightning bolts struck toward him non-stop as if the gods were condemning him. This place was terrifying and comparable to hell. After exiting this egg, Faye started to feel a little sympathetic toward the demon that just escaped. Anyone who got locked inside that egg and was struck by lightning bolts for 1,000 years would go crazy. No wonder this demon reacted so aggressively when Faye tried to strengthen the seal on the egg, and it even risked its life to break out before the king did so. One thing that pleasantly surprised Faye was the law of time inside this giant sealed egg. It was much faster compared to the outside world. Half a day passed inside the egg, but only less than an hour passed outside. Although this giant sealed egg wasn't suitable for humans to stay in, this difference in the speed of the flow of time fitted Faye's criteria. Faye brought Kane and Akira into this giant sealed egg that was full of thunder, lightning, wind, and rain. After 4 days of research where the king was struck by lightning bolts every second, the 2 mad scientists finally grasped onto some key information regarding the laws of nature in this space. According to them, in about a month, they should be able to alter the speed of time in those 3 giant sealed eggs that were suitable for humans to live in, so time would pass faster in them compared to the outside world. This was great news. In the next few days, Faye spared some time and strengthened the seals on the rest of the 66 giant sealed eggs, just in case anything bad happened. Then, he ordered the military of Chambord to teleport soldiers into the capital of Angie using the super long-range magic teleportation arrays, treating this city, which was surrounded by undead creatures such as zombies and mutated demon beasts, as the practice battlefield for the troops of Chambord. At the same time, Some military departments and weaponry manufacturing plants that were of less importance were slowly moved to the capital of Anji, creating a temporary second arsenal of Chambord. Of course, the most crucial things were those 5,000 sets of mystical gold armor. In these 3 months, the elemental runes were engraved onto the inside of the mystical gold armor after the craftsmen and university students worked overtime. Next, the most critical step was the linking of magic arrays and the activation of the runes. It required Kane and Akira to do it personally. This was a complicated task, and it required a ton of time. The good thing was the alteration of the speed of time inside the 3 giant sealed eggs were soon going to be finished. Once Chambord was able to work on these war machines inside such spaces, everything could be completed in less than 3 months. This was an urgent matter that concerned Chambord's chance of survival in the Chaos Era. Therefore, Faye had to suppress his curiosity of going to the southern region of Azeroth to check out the goblins, and he temporarily stayed behind in the northern region, coming and going between Chambord City and the capital of Anji. The good thing was that with Faye's current strength and the super long-distance magic teleportation arrays, not much time was wasted on the road. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. Faye's Amazon character was now at Nightmare Mode level 99. He only had to complete Hell Mode. At the same time, Faye killed many zombies and monsters in the real world. These dark creatures' speed of evolution was stunning. In less than a year, more than 100 zombie emperors appeared. Fortunately, Faye was able to kill the powerful monsters periodically so that even more powerful creatures wouldn't appear. However, as Faye killed many monsters, the zombies ate each other to evolve, and no more monsters appeared since Faye isolated the monsters away from humans. The number of these dark creatures of hell drastically reduced. Right now, there were less than 1 million of them, which was less than 10% of their prime. Of course, Faye got a lot of benefits from the killing. The King's Barbarian character and Paladin character both surpassed the mid-tier demigod realm and reached peak demigod realm. If he could achieve another breakthrough, he would be in the true god realm. By then, he could live for tens of thousands of years, and he could appear anywhere in the world and do anything he wanted. After all, he would be a real god. However, there was only one uncertainty. From the information that Faye gathered so far, if he wanted to become a real god, only increasing his power further wouldn't help much. A challenging process had to take place, and it was the condensation of divinity. This was a step that many cultivation geniuses couldn't surpass, and many demigods died before this threshold. There was one key reason. No one knew how to condense divinity. At least on the Azeroth continent, no one knew this process. This secret technique was long lost after the gods and demons died off in the mythical era. Except for Faye's Barbarian character and Paladin character who were demigods, and the Amazon character who was still leveling up, the rest all stayed at Hell Mode level 100, which was equivalent to peak Burning Sun class. Right now, Faye had no plans of increasing their strengths to the demigod realm. After all, the zombies were almost all killed off, and the mystical energy wasn't endless. Faye had to make sure that his Barbarian character and Paladin character had dominant combat strengths. During this period, the situation on the continent got even more complicated. In the southern region of Azeroth, where all humans were paying attention to, the Human Alliance and the Goblin Clan had several clashes and battles involving millions of soldiers, and both sides had some wins and losses. The situation was in a heated stalemate. During the war, humans captured quite a lot of goblins, and they learned from the captives that the goblins came from a space called the Goblin Realm. In the last thousands of years, the goblins stayed there and rested, creating a giant civilization. However, as time passed, the Goblin Realm, which was artificially created, was reaching the end of its lifespan. Therefore, this powerful race in the mythical era had to return to the Azeroth continent. This answer was in line with Faye and Akinfeev's estimates. Clearly, it was a terrible answer. It meant that war was unavoidable. Goblins were fighting for the continuation of their race and survival. On the other hand, humans, a race that was arrogant and used to dominating the Azeroth continent, were fighting for their absolute control over the land. In the beginning, humans were thinking about enslaving this race, which had a mighty civilization. Unfortunately, the strength of goblins far surpassed humans' imaginations. Although goblins were short, ugly, couldn't cultivate warrior energy, and were average at magic spells, they had superior talent in alchemy and magic technology. They had many advanced alchemists and many strange yet powerful skills and tools. Even when facing Sun-class lords of humans, they weren't inferior and matched up evenly. This race, where the weight of their heads made up 40% of their body weight, walked on another path to absolute power. Once alchemy reached the peak, the alchemists could also control the laws of nature. According to the information that the captives gave, the Goblin clan didn't lack emperors of alchemy, who were on the same level as demigods. When the war got to this point, the far-sighted human masters gradually realized that these short and green creatures' return to the Azeroth continent was unavoidable and irreversible. It was impossible to eliminate all of them. In not too long, humans would have to drop the arrogance that they developed for thousands of years. They would have to pinch their noses and accept that these short creatures were on the same level as them, and goblins were going to be one of the races standing at the top of the food chain of this continent. Unfortunately, the worsening of the situation didn't stop here. On the first day of spring in this new year on the Azeroth continent, the sun was bright, and the weather was great. Everything was signaling that this was going to be a great day. In the central region of Azeroth, on the holy mountain of the Holy Church at Sicily Island, this was a place where all the forces on the continent had to look up to. The giant mountain on Sicily Island was soaring into the clouds, and it looked like the symbol of the entire continent. As it pierced into the sky, it showed the impregnable position of this place. In the area of hundreds of kilometers around Sicily Island, the vast holy power enveloped this region. It was spring-like all year round, and greeneries could be seen everywhere. This region was very suitable for humans to live in. The holy flowers that represented brightness grew all over the mountains, and the genial-looking priests and handsome holy knights could be seen at every corner. Fancily dressed bishops and prestigious nobles and noble ladies entered and exited the holy mountain, and ships and boats with pure white sails floated on the rivers and sea. The young girls in the holy choir sang the holy song, and it resonated between the sky and earth, making people intoxicated. For the last 1,000 years, this place was never involved in any wars, and the flames of war never touched it. This was a snapshot of a paradise that was like heaven on land, and holy energy engulfed everything. As if it were the carefree Garden of Eden, this place only had happiness, hope, and brightness, and not a single trace of sadness, despair, and evil. This was a holy land that was blessed and protected by the gods. Like always, the young captain of a small team of holy knights, Samaras, finished the daily morning ceremony of expressing gratitude to the gods and consumed bread and wine with his peers. Then, they put on the fancy, hollow silver armor, jumped on their handsome white horses, and grabbed their silver knight lances that were shiny after being polished. Next, they started their daily mission of patrolling the island. This was a simple task. They only had to circle Sicily Island once as if they were on a field trip, and they could complete it little over half a day. There was no risk. After all, no one dared to mess around in Sicily Island in the last 1,000 years. As the gentle breeze blew by, the surface of the sea that was dyed red by the morning sun started to ripple. From all angles, this was a beautiful and perfect morning. After thinking back to the smile that a beautiful and pure girl in the choir gave him, Samara's mood was uplifted. The holy knights didn't need to suppress their desires, and the girls in the holy choir might not need to offer their purity to the god. It was only the job of the saintess. Samaras felt like he was already deeply in love with that girl. In a great mood, he dreamed about the future while he led his team members on this familiar path that they patrolled over many times. Soon, this team of holy knights got close to a bay on the southern side of Sicily Island. The beach was beautiful, and the crisp chirps of the white seagulls resonated in the sky as these birds flew by like delicate music notes. Samaras looked up, and he felt like the face of that beautiful girl in the choir slowly appeared in the blue sky. She was smiling at him. This young holy knight gradually got lost in the smile as the seagulls chirped around him. Suddenly, he discovered that many black freckles somehow appeared on this girl's face in the sky one after another. "What is going on?" he thought. "Captain, something is off." One of his peers reminded him. Samaras instantly reacted, and his illusion of that girl's beautiful face in the sky disappeared. Those black dots that looked to be the size of beans from a distance started to approach Sicily Island quickly. Their speed was too fast. They were still tiny a moment ago, but they already turned into terrifying and vicious giant beasts. They had giant wings, sharp white teeth, and shiny scales under the illumination of the sunlight. Their enormous bodies had a metallic texture, and the terrifying magic energy flames that condensed around them were already burning. What are these? Demon beasts? Giant demon beasts that can fly? Why are they here? All the members in this team of holy knights blanked out. After the long-term peace, they already lost the awareness and alert that they should have. In this split second, they couldn't react in time. Suddenly, ear-piercing siren resonated in the sky. This was the first time it rang so loudly on Sicily Island in the last 1,000 years. Enemy raid. These two words that seemed ridiculous finally appeared in the heads of these holy knights who were arrogant. But they were shocked even further. They couldn't react in time again. Oh my God! What are these creatures? How dare they attack the holy mountain of the Holy Church? How did these evil creatures avoid the tens of thousands of magic watchtowers, the detections of powerful mages, and the warning magic arrays? How did they get so close to Sicily Island before they were discovered? Most importantly, what are these creatures? Boom! 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 In the next moment, tens of thousands of colorful magic lights shot down from the sky like meteors while dragging long tails. They were shot out of the monsters' mouths, and they smashed onto Sicily Island, causing great destruction. Instantly, the giant island shook as if it were about to sink, and loud explosions sounded from all over the island. The fire and smoke permeated the air, staining this paradise. Dragon! Giant dragons? How come? They are actually dragons? Protect Sicily Island. These damn dragons. Where did they come from? Chaotic roars resonated in the area, and the loud bugles sounded abruptly, shattering the calm and peace that had been around Sicily Island for 1,000 years. Meanwhile, the roars of the giant dragons also echoed in the sky. In this chaos, the Holy Mountain, which was located in the center of Sicily Island, was the target of the giant dragons that covered the sky and blocked the sun.